Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Tech Talk from the Dynamics 365 team. Today's topic is introducing Dynamics 365 ERP Analytics MCP. My name is Severin, and I will be your moderator today. We're broadcasting this session through Microsoft Teams Town Hall. The session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. When you join this event, your name and email address may be visible to the session organizers. By joining, you're agreeing to this experience. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. If you wish your name is not be visible to the organizers or session participants, please post your question anonymously. All presenters will be responding to your questions through the session and in the live segment at the end of the presentation. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Wei Zhu, the Senior Product Manager. We have myself, Severin Bock, Solution Architect. And then we have a couple of co-presenters available throughout the back to take care about your questions you are giving us on chat. And with that, let's take it forward. Wei, I think it's up to you.
Yes, Severin, thank you so much for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. We have something quite exciting to show you today. So we are, as Severin mentioned, introducing ERP Analytics MCP that is built on top of BPA. Many of you in the audience are already familiar with Business Performance Analytics, BPA in short, or already are users of it. BPA was introduced last year, and we have been seeing quite exciting growth on top of it. And Severin, let's move to the next slide. BPA, as you already know, is the analytical store to your ERP data. Think Dynamics 365 as your center for actions and the system of record, and BPA takes all of those actions and record together to create analytical schema for you to be able to easily manage and analyze and extract insights out of your ERP instances. Now, this chart is has a lot of information. I'm not going to go into extreme depth into it, but as you can see, ERP has a lot of value chains and data models spanning across many systems, and BPA brings them together. So instead of me kind of walking you through every single item on this slide, why don't we just watch a demo of BPA together? So, Sermon, let's move to the next one.
Introducing Business Performance Analytics, a centralized reporting and insights hub within Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. Business Performance Analytics is designed to streamline your financial and operational insights and help you make faster, data-driven decisions. At the heart of Business Performance Analytics are pre-built reports powered by an end-user-friendly data model that cover core financial and operational processes like procure to pay, record to report, and order to cash. These reports give you a quick and comprehensive view of your financial performance right out of the box. But Business Performance Analytics doesn't stop there. If you need specific, you have the flexibility to modify existing reports or even create your own, all tailored to your unique business needs. One of Business Performance Analytics' standout features is dimensional role-level security, ensuring that users only see the data relevant to them based on their role. This means you can confidently share reports without duplicating them, as the data is automatically filtered by your organization's security policies. It's a simple but powerful way to maintain control while providing access. For teams that love working in Excel, Business Performance Analytics integrates seamlessly with Analyze and Excel, allowing you to export and explore data using pivot tables and formulas. And if your organization is leveraging Power BI, Business Performance Analytics integrates deeply, giving you access to curated reports and enabling advanced visualizations. Lastly, Business Performance Analytics integrates with Microsoft Fabric, providing a scalable, secure environment for handling large data datasets and ensuring your insights are always powered by the latest technology. In short, Business Performance Analytics delivers a robust, secure, and flexible platform for business leaders, helping you get the most from your data while staying agile and informed. Thank you.
All right. So that's quite an exciting demo. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking, whoa, that's a lot of stuff to go through and a lot of clicking and dragging to build a dashboard. If you're thinking that, you're not alone. Oh, I see comments and Q&As mentioning that there isn't sound. I think some of us are able to hear sound, but there might have been some issues. And if you weren't able to hear sound, apologies. So basically, the sound was and the voiceover kind of explaining what BPA is or does. Wow, lots of thumbs ups
I think
in there.
I think audio should be fine, and we have the video recording being published to YouTube within the next days. So when you miss the sound, for sure the YouTube version will have audio, and then you can watch that. But thanks for mentioning it. We cross-check very quickly. Let's go ahead, Wei.
Yep, sounds good. So yeah, like I was mentioning that BPA, Business Performance Analytics, today gives you a vast suite of tools and the data models for you to be able to analyze, build dashboard, and extract insight out of your D365 environments. But sometimes it might require many clicking around, dragging things, and being able to understand the complex data models yourself. Now, if that creates friction, we are releasing ERP Analytics MCP to help smooth that friction. So what is MCP? As a quick recap, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It is an open protocol that standardizes how applications provide context to LLMs. In a simple analogy, MCP, you can think of it as your USB-C hub that plugs into your computer and allows your computer, your main environment, your main tool to be able to interact and interface with many third-party systems without you having to develop custom integrations with each and every single one of them. MCP primarily benefits your AI-driven applications so that your Claude, your Gemini, your ChatGPT can talk to Dynamics 365 and the BPA instantly and very easily. Now, where does our MCP server sit? If you remember the complex slide that you just saw 3 minutes ago, MCP server becomes this abstraction layer that enables you to perform user-led analysis through Excel and Power BI, Copilot system analysis through Copilot agents, and any other autonomous analysis driven by your AI and LLM applications without having to create individual workflows and integrations yourself. MCP server becomes this layer of abstraction that enables your specific use cases and applications to talk to BPA dimensional models and Dynamics 365 ERP applications instantly and very easily. Now, if this diagram still seems a little complex, let me show you something a little bit more concrete. Next slide, please. As you all know, one of the exciting things that we've been working on is a Copilot Studio. On Copilot Studio, you're able to build agents yourself through adding custom agent instructions and tools, third-party connections, and such. Some of those tools are MCP servers, and some of those servers are actually Dynamics 365 dedicated servers. As you all know, our teams has released Dynamics 365 ERP MCP earlier this year, and that gives you the ability to control your Dynamics 365 ERP instance with natural language, and the AI would be able to perform many tasks and operations for you. Now, 365 ERP Analytics MCP, the second box that you're seeing in the middle under MCP servers, is the one that we are talking about today. So by combining these two MCP servers, now not only do you have the capability to perform actions directly within Dynamics 365, you can also easily extract insights to either inform your action or perform actions so that your ERP system becomes a very easy to work with coworker for you. All you have to do is ask questions, get insights, and perform actions all in natural language. And we're not only just making the ERP Analytics MCP server available within Copilot Studio. Let's move on to the next slide, please. The MCP servers are also going to enable many other use cases within M365 Copilots and agents, Copilot Studio, AI Foundry, Visual Studio Code, and many other platforms that are upcoming. And the MCP servers that we're releasing today is our step one towards that exciting future. And today, Severin in a few minutes will show you how the MCP servers work in action. And today, our MCP server essentially involves two tools. Severin, let's move on to the next slide, please. Yep. So MCP servers today has two tools: get data set schema and execute DAX query. So by combining these two tools, your AI would be able to easily read and understand what BPA has to offer, all of its dimensional data models, measures, entities, everything that comes out of the box from BPA. And by understanding the BPA datasets, the AI would be able to come up with DAX queries and perform those DAX queries to read and extract insights out of your BPA instance through the second tool. Now, we have done extensive testing over the last few months and kind of distilled what used to be a complex design into these two simplistic tools. Many people will say, well, two tools, right? How accurate could it be? But actually, in a few minutes, you will be able to see just with these two tools, we can already unlock very exciting use cases. And of course, we have much more to come in the next few months and in the coming years as well. And I'll talk about roadmaps a little bit later. But for now, let me hand over the mic to Severin to show you some of the exciting use cases that we have built.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah, thank you for bringing up all the questions. We're trying to answer quickly. Let's have a conversation here. This is very awesome. So let's get started. And I prepped a few demos for you. I pre-recorded these, and I will do a voiceover live. And if time allows, at the end, I can go back into a live demo to show more advanced things. But let's start with creating an agent which can go talk to our ERP Analytics MCP server in Copilot Studio, right? So let's take a look to this one. So in this demo. And let me show it quite quickly. So you see, you're creating a new agent. Then we're providing the name of the agent. The next step is we are creating a description, and the description needs to help others to understand, okay, what that agent is about. So we are talking about, that as kind of providing you a data-driven insights, agent, based on the BPA data sets. And then the most important thing, and I'm pausing here for a second, is providing agent instructions. So next to the description, which is describing for others to understand what it is, we need to provide instructions, and you can see it's plain natural language, what that agent is supposed to do. And these instructions are helping the model to talk nicely with the MCP server, right? We will share these instructions within a Learn article within the next days. Then you can copy paste it from there. But this is kind of very fundamental to get better results from that agent or from that model who's chatting and talking to that MCP server. Let's go ahead. So we see we put in the instructions, and then once that's done, once that's saved, the next thing we do is we need to add the tooling, right? So we go to Copilot Studio and we add a tooling. And the tools are, there's a ton of tools in Copilot Studio. And the tools, we need to search for this ERP. And here you see all the tools you have in place from an MCP point of view relating to ERP. So just search for ERP, and you will see there's kind of obviously an MCP server available for Business Central. There's an MCP server available for many other, opportunities within Dynamics 365. And yep, you see in front of you, we have a tool, which is Dynamics 365 ERP Analytics MCP, which is connecting directly to the BPA data sets, getting refreshed automatically in the back, right? So we go add this, and once it's added, we need to take care about the connections. Once the connections are done, so the user obviously needs to be a user in the BPA as well. So take care about the security concept there. And once that's established, the tool is added to the agent in Copilot Studio, and then we can see the tools available. As mentioned by Wei a second ago, these are the tools which we are supporting, and you see this clearly in Copilot Studio as well. You can execute DAX queries, and before we can execute a query, we need to understand the schema and deterministic run and create that query to be executed, right? So these toolings are now available in my agent, and that's all I need to do. There's one thing missing. We're selecting the model of choice, right? What I do here in this example, I selecting the Sonnet 4.5 model because that fits good to my use case. So, and with that, my agent is created. I can give it a try, right? The next thing is how we go use it, right? This is the demo here. Now I do have a demo where I'm asking about the open vendor invoices I have available to understand what's in. So let's run it. I will do voice over live and I will describe what it is. So here you see what I'm asking for is, what are my open vendor invoices for vendor in my controller database? Present this information in a clear, user-friendly formatting and HTML table. So this is my instructions I'm providing. And now you see on the left-hand side that the model is chatting with the MCP tooling, right? So detecting, that's something where I need to understand the data schema. And you can monitor this on the side as well. As you can now, the data schema has been found. The agent and the model are thinking about, okay, what I'm supposed to do, what tables I may need to get this open vendor invoices being visualized. And then once we understand what data we need, we're providing a query. And you can see in this demo here as well, the query here is visible, right? The input parameters we are sharing to execute the query is here. So that's where the magic is happening. So we're getting that query suggested by the model and then executing it for us to get access to the data. So then once the query is there, it's take a look to the results. And once we have all the results captured, the model and the agent is then starting to reasoning over the results, and then it displays up in the requested format, and voila, here we are. That is a very, very easy, straightforward use case where you see the results in a table format as requested. It's a very generic prompt, right? I have not asked for specific fields, for specific formatting. It's just straightforward into a data what I have, but I could give it a more advanced request. Let's go ahead to the next demo of that, where I'm being in the same area. So I'm in the area of vendor risk analysis with the ERP Analytics, and this time, what you will see is that I'm not showing you the test run of an agent in Copilot Studio, what I have here in this recording and in this demo, I have an agent, published to Microsoft Copilot Studio. I've published that one to M365 Copilot, so that you see here the experience that I'm asking for the question. In this one, I asked the question, what are my vendors at risk? Provide me a clean overview and instructions how to mitigate the issues. I would like to inform my accounts payable team about the required tasks to be done. So it's an advanced prompt, right? Where I really like to give a challenge. And now you see in M365 view, you can access these agents you are publishing in Copilot Studio. Once the channel M365 is connected, you will get the results available here, and that's what you get. So you get a very good understanding and resulting about the data which is visible in the VBA datasets. The MCP server allows us to convert a prompt into required schemas into query to be executed. The data comes back, and then the agent reasoning over the results and is really giving us very good descriptions about what has been found, right? Obviously, we need to control the database. We should take care of post payments, right? That we are getting the unpaid balance down. But it shows you on a very easy example the power of MCP and definitely the work it can get to us, right? It can start giving us instructions. That is the week one to escalate the critical situation we are facing in our environment. Day 1 to 2, we really have instructions we can go after. Or if we like to have instructions in a specific area, then we need to just prompt it in a more specific way. So getting very rich outcomes out of the possibilities without any need to talk about the connections needed, how to make data accessible. It all comes with this MCP server available and the way how we can connect this to an agent platform like Copilot Studio, right? So this is a more advanced query available for you. Next thing is you could potentially turn this into an email you're sending to your account team. You potentially use that result and converting this into an email you'd like to send to your vendors as well. That you like to say, hey, sorry, I know, I need to, I'm owing you a bit of a payment. It's initiated right now. I'm sorry for this. So you can think about it in a different way. What are the next steps on the journey? And then it's just about explaining it in your agent instructions, adding the relevant tools. I will show you a next demo in a second. The question has been raised already in the chat. How would you combine Dynamics 365 ERP MCP, which is our kind of an MCP over over the UI that like a human is doing, navigating on the ERP UI, and we have two scenarios, right? Insights into action, right, where we are exploring data with ERP Analytical MCP to identify issues, risks, and then we do trigger finance operations actions through the ERP MCP. And the other one is actions informed by insights. So that we are starting with a task in finance operations apps, then we use ERP Analytics MCP to optimize the decisions, for example, for requisition management with the vendor performance analysis. So these are the two scenarios which plays very nicely, and that's what I will show you in my next demo. So before I do this is kind of the architecture behind, right? I have a request coming in, I have my ERP Analytical MCP server being used, it's calling VBA, it comes back, and then the agent knows, all right, now I need to go and do an action in my MCP server for the UI, and here I've just selected finance as a destination, but it could be supply chain management or any other apps which are supported by our ERP MCP server. And what I have here as an sample is we are analyzing a vendor and we are asking the agent now to decide if I need to put my vendor on hold. And that's my use case. So let's take a look to this. I will do live over again. So you will see here now, when I run the video, this is our ERP, this is our vendor, and you will see here now the vendor has a vendor on hold status of no. So it's not on hold, right? Everybody can use that vendor to create a purchase order, to post an invoice, to do something with that vendor. But what we like to avoid is, in case the vendor is having a very huge open balance, we like to avoid, we are adding in more dependencies to this vendor. So that means we are kind of like to block it, right? We need to make a block saying no, until we have not paid this vendor, we don't like to add additional purchase orders to this. So this is what the idea is. So let's take a look. So it's sitting on no. As the next step, I have created a vendor risk guard. And here you see what I've done to make that happen. So you will see here again, I have an agent in Copilot Studio. I have a model which is running here in the back to have the conversation ongoing. And then I have instructions, right? I really, describing you are a vendor risk guard agent, right? Responsible for protecting ERP financial processes, right? Identifying risky vendors and enforcing policy-based controls. And then I have the flow in clean, plain, natural language. Detect risky vendor using this agent. So I'm using here an agent which is, connected. So it's an agent-to-agent use case. And this agent is our ERP Analytical MCP, right? Connection. Only focus on the total. So this is a bit of description that I don't go too big on the investigation to simplify in this use case. And then afterwards, right? I mean, decide if the vendor is risky. And then I told them, risky vendor is for me more than 5 open invoices. That's my definition. I could leave it open. Then it's definitely, the model is reasoning over this, what could be potential based on the data composition available. And once it's there, please update, vendor status using the Dynamics ERP MCP agent, which is an agent who talks to our ERP MCP endpoint on the UI when required per the analytical results, and then, set the relevant vendor on hold. And as the confirmation needed, I ask them, please go and send an email. And they have a next tooling in the game here. I'm using the Outlook tool for send an email to maintain transparency, because I like to inform a user saying, hey, I have set your vendor on hold. So we are assuming that this may be running automatically every morning, every night, every time a vendor invoice is getting posted. So let's have a look how it works. So a little bit of description, I think, helps to understand what I've done here. So here you see all the tooling added. I have 2 agents. One agent is my agent which carries the MCP, my MCP for Analytic. The other agent is the one which carries the ERP. This was the tooling for sending the email. And here you will see how it's working. So I just put the request in my M65 UI, check vendor, and I give the vendor name. And then the agent will start acting and start following the instructions shared. And within a few minutes here, you will see in the video, obviously I cut out a little bit the waiting time to make that experience to become smoother in this TechTalk. You will see here the executive summary I'm getting, right? I'm getting, okay, that vendor has an unpaid open amount, the number of total invoices, the risk assessment is high risk, right? The threshold violation is there because I have 9 invoices, which exceeds the threshold of 5 invoices, without any coding, right? Without any technical coding, just plain natural language in the agent instructions, without any topic, just describing what I need and linking to the agents which are supposed to handle a specific task. I'm getting these answers, right? So it's immediate, place vendor account on hold to prevent new purchase orders until outstanding invoices are resolved. So this is great. And now the agent is continuing. You will see this here. It's not done yet because it's directly went into the ERP MCP. Yeah, perfect, success. So you see, the next step immediately was, updating the vendor status, and it's completed the operations. So now we see here, I'm getting a feedback of, yep, I was able to find the vendor. I was setting the status on hold. The impact of this is, I think I'm now scrolling down again on the results. But the impact is, the result is that I cannot go create purchase orders. I cannot post invoices, and that is, that is brilliant, right? Because I don't let humans to be responsible to understand when an invoice is potentially at risk. I would like to have an assistant on my side, an agent who's putting a status on hold, right? I do this here straight. Let's take a look to the results. Yep, I'm refreshing. Perfect. Vendor is on hold here, right? You see this here, the on hold status is being set. And that's just an example, right? We can think about every action in UI is possible. I just use the on hold as an easy example to understand for you, but you can create records, yada, yada. And here I just show you the email has been sent. Yep, there has been the confirmation email that the vendor has been put on, that the vendor has been set on hold. The email formatting is up to us to decide, but this is my use case, right? So it really opens up that, we are assisting an employee by an agent who takes a look to my data composition and then acting on my ERP. In this case, there was no kind of man in the middle, or woman in the middle. What we can do is, we can ask her, hey, I found this scenario. Would you like to set the status on hold, yes or no? It's just a matter of extending the agent and starting a workflow for approval in case we really need to ensure that the human is in the loop and that you're not letting it run autonomously, right? And I hope that few demos showed you the power of the BPA MCP, the power of Copilot Studio, and what's possible from a no-code, low-code perspective by using plain natural language to get a very first agent to become to life. Let's talk about security, because security is major important, right? We really need to have an enterprise-grade authentication and authorization support. And then the beautiness is that MCP supports all of that because the tooling and connectors are sitting within our Microsoft ecosystem. So authentication, user identity, you heard about the Agent 365 announcements where we can manage agent identities, and all of these things. It's supported by default, and the tooling, secured by the BPA security configuration. So similar that like the normal ERP MCP, which is using the end user credentials and secure your role-based security configuration, the same for BPA. If that user is only allowed to see AP module, then that MCP tool can only go to AP module. Or if it's only allowed to go to a specific dimension set, like I'd only like you to go to a specific cost center or to a specific business line, it's all being configured in BPA. And the MCP tool acknowledge that and will stop when the configuration is not allowing to enter that prompt, right? So let's take a look to prompts for analytic operations as an sample. So use this as a go-to slide in case you like to know, okay, what else is needed. We can aggregate and summarize. We can go for trends, right? We can do very good analysis, top bottom performers, right? When we talk about what are our top 10 customers, top 10 vendors, that's always possible. Anomaly detection is awesome, right? Anomalies into actions, right? I mean, assuming we are tagging a financial transaction, when we identified a risky pattern, right? With actions on MCP, on ERP, it's super easy to go. And we can drive complex calculations as well, right? Like an inventory turnover ratios. No worries. The agent really use schema tools to understand the model, generates appropriate DAX queries, and then turning it into an answer. So this is a fundamental platform we have available. Here, another examples we have. Think about financial analytics. Think about a vendor analysis we do for customer, for products, on every area, right? Whether we have data supported by BPA, let's have that top of mind. There's another slide for this in a second. The sky's the limit here. It's really us to decide to define, what the agent is supposed to do. All right, let's pause for a second. How to get started, and how to configure. So there are some prerequisites. Dynamics 365 finance operations environments. For sure, we have to have a version which is higher than 10.038. Then we have to have the BPA being installed. At minimum, we need for the BPA MCP server version 2.5. And with being in public preview, now the MCP server and the URLs you will see in a second should be by default available and accessible for you. And the tooling in MCP in Microsoft Copilot Studio should be available as well because we're now in public preview. And you can self-serve the BPA installation following the URLs we are sharing. Of course, you need to set up the user and the permissions. So in case you like that user identity to be used to access the MCP tooling, that user needs to sit on the BPA environment and on the FNO. Or if you like to have that agent identity, driving that, agent for you, then that agent identity needs to have roles and these things assigned that it can access and authenticate. Think about the security slide I shared you a minute ago. So then you can play around with the clients. So this is an example how I can get this ERP Analytics MCP work in Visual Studio Code, which is a very easy way to just test your prompts. It's super straightforward. You go Visual Studio Code, you have the latest version, right? You're adding MCP server, so Visual Studio Code has the opportunity to add, most of the MCP servers. You're adding it. You are connected to an HTTP server, similar like you do with the normal ERP MCP endpoint. Here's the URL. You need to just copy paste, and then you need to replace the environment ID with your specific environment ID. And then once it's saved, you can run it, you can start it, and then you will see the MCP JSON file in Visual Studio Code is getting updated. And once you're starting the first time, it's asked for authentication. You need to provide your credentials, what you'd like to use to access. That should be your credentials, which can go into BPA, and then you're good to go. So straightforward, nothing very fancy. You can copy this from here, or you can say check the Learn page. How to get started in ERP, Analytical MCP with Copilot Studio. As mentioned in my demo, and if you've just seen, we're opening an agent, we're going to the tools section, we search for the tooling called Dynamics 365 ERP Analytical MCP, and then we can go start using it, right? This is how it gets done. Considerations. I mentioned that one. We have a dependency on BPA. So keep in mind, BPA has a data refresh frequency. So we can only work on the data which has been refreshed. So this is one. The other one is the available data scope, right? That we cannot go for every data. We can only go for data which is supported by the BPA framework. So that's kind of the most important dependencies we need to consider. Security configuration, of course, I talked about this. The model is important, right? Sonnet, or Cloud Sonnet, or Optus 4.5, or Chat GPT 5. Two models, are working. Agent instructions, we have to have that to get a best outcome, right? You can describe in plain natural language the statements I like to do. There are some performance limits, right? Approximately, we have 120 seconds maximum execution time. So as the query is getting too big, we need to make that query smaller, and we need to run more specific prompts. So having more steps and don't have one huge one, that we really getting a smaller execution time, quick execution time, and approximately 10 megabytes of data refresh per query at the moment in the public preview. Prompt design is super important, right? If we have a bad prompt, we get a bad result. If we have a very good prompt, we get a very good result. So really, prompt engineering is very, much required here to have your prompts you can kind of use for the reporting, or you can just save behind a button or behind a functionality to avoid people need to write that prompt. But prompt design is major important. Performance, I talked about this. And security as well. I mean, that's very, very important that you're testing this with user permissions and role-based architecture. Troubleshooting, right? There are different ways what you can do to troubleshoot, and this is just a reference slide for you. I will not go into this in detail now, but definitely reach out, search for help, and you create a support ticket as well when you need help. It's definitely something where we like to support you to get it unblocked. And you always can go chat with Wei, myself, and the entire team. We are here to help to get the public preview running in one of your environments. And with that way, I was talking for quite some time. I think it's up to you now to take a look to the roadmap and resources, and I will go back to the chat to see what else is missing here. Wei, are you still with us?
I am. Amazing job. Thank you so much, Severin. Many exciting demos. I saw a lot of hand claps, thumbs ups from the audience. Definitely excited for what everyone will be able to build with the MCP. So roadmaps and the resources, I actually just shared a documentation link in the chat there. Many questions were related to security models, what data model is available for MCP server, and how to configure, etc. So to make things simple, we actually designed the Analytics MCP on top of BPA. So basically inheriting and sharing the same security configuration, data models, and so on and so forth as the BPA. That is kind of the bedrock to our MCP server. So if you have any questions about how to like what data model do you have access to, or what kind of role do you have to assign your users, simply refer to the BPA MS Learn page. You will be able to get more insights and more up-to-date information from that page. And why am I mentioning that? Because MCP or Analytics MCP will also inherit many features that's on the BPA's main roadmap. As you can see, data model enhancement is currently happening. And very soon, we're going to be able to have extensibility and more frequent data refreshes. And BPA will also come out of the box for you pre-installed in your environment later this year. So many exciting changes happening. And as Samrin mentioned earlier, if you're on BPA version 2.5 and higher, MCP will work out of the box for you. Later today, we will publish several sub-pages in the main BPA MS Learn page to share more details about how to set up your MCP server, which I promise is very simple. All you have to do is just one URL, plug it into your Visual Studio Code, you're done. Or even just head over to your Copilot Studio and you can already find the first-party connector available, as Samrin was showing a few minutes earlier. So many exciting things upcoming, and we are going to, and we're trying to, and we'll continue to make the experience as seamless for you as possible. Let's head over to the next slide. Specifically about what's upcoming for the ERP Analytics MCP itself. Now today, on the left-hand side, we are in public preview. MCP tools currently have two MCP tool endpoints: get ERP analytical schema and execute query. By combining just those two, you can already unlock many exciting features, and these work out of the box in Copilot Studio and the Visual Studio. Now, upcoming, we are going to, in actually just a few weeks of time, the first one is coming up soon, granular schema retrieval for better context management. We all know that context rot is a thing. When you throw too much information to your AI, some of the models might not be able to behave as well as others. So as a solution to that, we are going to give LLM more granular controls over what data they can retrieve from the BPA analytical schema. So stay tuned. It's very exciting change that's upcoming that's going to make your LLM application a lot more smarter, or even more smarter, I should say. It's already plenty smart today. And soon to follow, creating and updating dashboards and measures are some of the feature requests that we've been hearing quite a lot from our preview customers. So the team is full steam ahead, working on those features as well. And as far as integration goes, currently, we have MCP servers on Copilot Studio and Visual Studio for you to be able to build agents yourself. But very quickly, excuse me, the MCP servers will also get integrated into Copilots and agents to be able to kind of work out of the box for you as a pre-packaged agent and be able to natively integrate within BPA and many other Dynamics 365 features as well, just so that you have insights available anywhere that you work. Now, those are roadmaps and resources in a word. Let's end the roadmap section with an exciting kind of a vision demo. Now, I have to preface by saying that this is not a what's currently available demo, but this is kind of the Northstar that we are trying to build towards. So, Samrin, let's head over to the next one and hit play.
Yeah, and it definitely, take an eye to the overall kind of vision, within the M365 experience. So I will run the video now. Have fun.
Jose, the Chief Financial Officer, is checking his quarterly dashboards in Business Performance Analytics, built on Dynamics 365 and Dataverse. Instead of digging through endless reports and spreadsheets, he clicks the Analyze button. Instantly, the analyst agent gets to work. It scans the data and highlights what stands out, like a rise in cost of goods sold. Suggestions appear right on the screen, guiding his attention to what really matters. Jose chooses to explore vendor spend variance. Behind the scenes, the agent queries the analytical store using financial models and metrics. Every step is transparent so Jose can see exactly how the conclusions are reached. The assistant then shows a ranked list of vendors, with spending broken down quarter by quarter. One supplier jumps off the page. Tectonic Industries, with a 68% increase from the first quarter to the second. Jose wants to know why. In seconds, the agent pulls the full picture together. It combines invoice data, purchase orders, and quantities with Microsoft 365 context, like emails and team notes. It even checks external signals, tariff changes, news stories, and industry reports. The reason behind the spike becomes clear. Now Jose needs something to share. He asks for a report. Instantly, the agent builds a polished slide deck. It highlights trends and variances, explains the root causes, and even flags action items. What started as a dashboard is now a complete story. Jose knows what changed, why it happened, and what to do next, all ready for leadership without hours of manual work.
Awesome. So I like that one. Can't wait to see this in action. Wait.
Absolutely. Team is full steam ahead on building those, and MCP is our kind of step one into that direction. Thank you everyone for supporting us on this journey and sharing this journey together.
Yeah.
I will pass it back to Severin to kind of discuss more resources and other helpful information.
Sure. Thank you, Wei. So definitely, Learn is for you a very good resource. You should bookmark yourself. BPA analytical, business performance analytics, BPA, right? That should be all known. We are publishing tomorrow, the next day, is the article about the BPA MCP, the ERP Analytical MCP server. This is about to be done very soon. Then we are sharing that link, obviously as well. Then there are very good engage groups, right? On Viva Engage, we have a group for BPA, for Business Performance Analytics, and we have a group for the Dynamics 365 ERP Analytical MCP. So you can join these links here, or in case you kind of need to sign up and you join Viva Engage, then you have the link where you can, have a form to sign up for this. There's a very good documentation on the overall Dynamics ERP MCP server. We have documentation on how to extend, how you build agents, and all of these. Then there's a very awesome tech talk by Wei's colleague on the overall ERP MCP, accelerating AI agent development for Dynamics 365 ERP. This is a great tech talk. I would recommend you to watch. And then definitely go follow us on LinkedIn. There's a community page, and subscribing for upcoming tech talks. And that's kind of the way to stay connected. All right, and with that, we are about to get into the questions. So we have a bit of minutes left. Let's check what questions has been famous, where we need to do a voiceover again. And I'm super happy about the questions you're raising. I see a lot of things incoming, a lot of things which has been published. A lot of them has been answered already. So that's very good. So let me check what questions has not been answered so far. You get access to the presentation. We are publishing that as on the community page. Everything which is related to BPA roadmap, I encourage you to join the office hours. Right? I mean, Viva Engage gets you access to bi-weekly or weekly BPA office hours we are running, where we could talk about BPA every time in the depths. So starting from the questions you have to get ready, your issues you're facing, and questions on roadmap, and we're joining, of course, from an MCP team to join this office hours as well. So that's me there. This is great. What else we have? Let me ask my others in the back. Saurabh, Harsh, do you see any question you'd like to read out loud? As long I'm reading through the questions which are not.
Yeah. Severin, one question on security auth, right? Can you share some recommendations, best practices on BPA and BPMCP for security or authorization?
Yeah, definitely. What I would like to do is, I don't like to have one identity, one Entra ID, which is supposed to do everything, right? I think we should have multiple agent identities in Entra being managed, who is supposed to access a specific area. So, for example, that agent identity is supposed to work on the AP side, because then we can make that configuration, that authentication and the BPA data can only be seen in that module, or you're defining it that you have a regional scale, that kind of there's an EMEA-based agent identity who can access to the cost centers which are linked to EMEA or the business units, so that you are really setting up multiple identities in Entra, which are getting set up properly in your BPA security configuration to avoid that you're accessing something you don't like to access. And then I recommend in the instructions of that agent, and specifically if you're running agent to agent, as my last demo you showed, make sure you are providing instructions what the agent should not do, right? For example, if you're receiving, when this agent is an AP agent and the prompting is about AR, you can make that an instruction saying, hey, in case you're getting a question outside of that description, stop it, right? Reject the request. So really bring in this governance into your agent instructions that the agent understands what it's supposed to do, what's not supposed to do. That's kind of my quick top of mind things when it comes to security. Yeah. Thanks, Saurabh. Wei, something to add? Are we good with that?
Yeah, nothing to add. I think you covered it.
Good.
Yeah, I think maybe Severin, you can also touch on security applicable to BPA versus FNO roles, right? I think that will be same thing for BPA MCP as well.
I mean, there are definitely two power of security configurations. The ERP configuration, that means UI, the UL-based security is one part, but you need to configure it kind of twice, like you do with any other reporting framework. So you have your user in the UI, which has the role and the assignment on legal entities and security roles, what they're supposed to do and see. And then you have your users in a BPA or in your reporting space where you're defining, okay, what's the user, what are the dimensions they can go. So you need to have two configurations to securing. And then in case you have an agent who is using both kind of connectors, obviously the same user needs to be in ERP, in the UI, and the other one needs to be in the BPA. Right. But yeah, that are the two areas where you go configure. And then in between, you have the authentication protected by Entra. Right. That's where we're deciding if we're allowed to enter or not. Okay. There's a question asked for the timeline. Wait, do we know the timeline for general availability for GA? Can you talk about that one? Do we know?
Of course. So GA is currently being worked on by the team, and the precise timeline is currently being determined. That is so for context, we have to go through quite extensive testing to make sure that this is good for kind of a heavy duty usage in production for your like production use cases, like serious use cases, because this is AI LLM driven feature, the journey never really ends, right? So behind the scenes, we are building very rigorous testings and evals to make sure that the MCP servers perform. So for now, we are in public preview. GA will soon to follow, and the precise timeline will be communicated later. So yeah, please stay tuned within our communication channels, as Severin mentioned, via the Engage group, office hours, monthly customer advisory board meetings, and we'll share more update about timelines in the future.
There was another question about the play with Fabric. So the BPA is being linked to Fabric, and data is extended by custom data, by ISV, or by other third-party data. What's your answer to that one? So how ERP Analytical MCP plays with data which is sitting in Fabric based on and extended with other data? Wait.
Yeah. That's a fantastic question. I don't know if Shivam is in the audience right now. Shivam, if you are, please feel free to chime in.
I'm sorry, what was the question again? In summary,
the question is more: what's the story for ERP Analytical MCP, and what's happening when a customer is bringing BPA data into their Fabric. And how is that working, right? When data is being linked to Fabric, and in Fabric we have it extended by third-party data or by data which comes from other, ERP systems of choice, and how we can utilize the MCP server, for data which relies in Fabric.
Okay, great question. Thank you. Appreciate you asking that again. Think of MCP as a tool that a set of tools that and the BPA or the Analytics ERP MCP provides you the access to the data and the tools to work on your ERP data. Now, many of you might have built data warehousing solutions in Fabric, and there is MCPs and data access available for Fabric as well. Right. So when you create these agents can reference any of these tools and have the capability to bring in the data models and data from both the Fabric and the BPA tools and combine them to answer your questions. So it is inherent in the architecture of MCP and agents that you will be able to combine data from various sources and be able to answer questions without having to bring them together.
Thank you, Shivam. That helps. And thanks for the great question. There's another one I see, will BPA aggregate records like customer across legal entities in F&O? You have the legal entity concept available in BPA, and it's just a matter of the prompt, right? If you're leaving out in the prompt the legal entity you like to look at, it's using the default kind of data. But if you come at these defining, I like to check the company USMF, or you'd like to go to another legal entity, it's your choice. Or you're saying, I like to aggregate across. So it's up to you to decide, right? If you're telling in prompting, you'd like to go across and like to aggregate, BPA MCP supports that one, of course. So it definitely can go across in case the user, the identity which is used to connect to BPA, the agent entity, is allowed to access these legal entities, right? That's a fundamental security configuration we have. If it's not allowed, it cannot. But if it's allowed, it's your prompting who's deciding where it needs to be. Yeah. Great question. Thank you for this. So any other things we have left? I see we have still a good amount of people in the event. So thanks for staying that long. We reached now the hour. So any other question, Saurabh, Harsh, where you see in the chat?
I would say that we can answer some of these questions offline. And folks, if you have further questions, let's leverage VV Engage. And all of us are active in those groups. So just throw us at any questions anytime, and we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as we can. And like Severin mentioned, just go and try it, and you might be surprised, right? With MCP combining with AI, the paradigm really shifted, right? Either that single entity exploration or multiple legal entities exploring different facts and dimensions. The sky really is the limit. So after today's session, I'm sure everyone already has a good understanding of what Analytics MCP is and what you can do with it. So yeah, please feel free to explore and let us know if you have any feedback, questions, or comments.
Yeah, thank you very much. Right, I think I'm very excited about what tooling we have in our hands. I can't wait to see what we all building together. Right, think about the possibilities we have. I've not talked about in my demos about the power of the code interpreter that models love to write, scripts, and we can create Excel spreadsheets and visualizations. So I've not talked about this, but more to come. We can have a next tech talk with more detailed demos and descriptions. Let's just share the feedback with us, and I think it's time for closure. Thank you very much. I think there's one link I need to bring to this session. It's about the survey. We'd definitely like to have you to give us feedback, and I'm just copy pasting a form. So if you like that session, please get us feedback. I think I should be able to get us an announcement. Started here. So if you can fill out this announcement I have now posted. The announcement I've posted, there should be the link to the form. So really, please make sure you can use that one to give us feedback. And if you like it, give us feedback. If you don't like it, tell us that we can do better. And with that, thank you very much for listening in, and see you next time. Join the Viva Engage group, join the office hours. We are here to build the future together. Thank you.